The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Sam Ray from the National Weather Service in Wakefield. If you had tuned into the first recording during this, we had a internet issue which I think caused the webinar to get cut short, so apologies for that. So I'm going to re-record this right now, and then we'll get it up to YouTube. But in terms of our highlights the next couple days, we do have lingering rain chances today across southern Virginia, northeast North Carolina. We did have some significant rainfall yesterday, which led to some flash flooding over southern Virginia, but I'm expecting, much more localized minor flooding potential today, if that. With the cooler and cloudier skies around, the storm potential is quite low, but we can't rule out a storm or two, but definitely nothing severe, strong to severe is expected. In terms of temperatures, temperatures will remain below normal, especially today. Warming a little bit for tomorrow, and then a little bit further for Saturday, and then we really, crank the temperatures back up from Sunday into early next week. I guess the main story is going to be the high rip current risk, which remains in effect through Saturday for all beaches. We are having breaking waves of 4 to 7 feet, along with those, choppy surf conditions, which, creates a risk for both rip currents and also, shore break, dangerous swimming conditions. So definitely advise everyone to stay out of the ocean, with these, with the large surf, and then with those onshore flow conditions, the breezy conditions at the coast is kind of pushing the water levels up a bit in the Chesapeake Bay. So we are expecting nuisance to locally minor flooding along the shore of the Chesapeake Bay and also up into the tidal rivers. That would be with the high tide cycle to both tonight and then also tomorrow night. On the marine side, we do have small craft advisories, which are in effect for all of our marine zones. So, really not ideal boating conditions out there with the onshore flow that will continue into the weekend, at least the first part of the weekend, Saturday, with those headlines likely in effect through at least Friday night, Saturday morning. So in terms of the current conditions, I will bring this over here. You can kind of see, if you follow those lower clouds coming in off the ocean, that's those northeast to easterly winds, pushing the moist and cooler conditions off the water. We are cloudy over southern Virginia and North Carolina, but getting some breaks in the clouds over central Virginia, from Richmond up to the northern neck and the lower Maryland eastern shore. In terms of rainfall, mainly dry across the area, just some lighter rain south of the area down towards Raleigh. But again, we could see a couple isolated scattered showers redevelop generally, for the southern Virginia and also down in the North Carolina today. Current temperatures across the area are in the mid to locally upper 70s. And, these will probably warm up, close to 80 for areas that, see quite a bit of sunshine today, but, perhaps remaining in the 70s down across the south with the clouds. So, again, just highlighting the rip current risk that is high for all beaches, up from Ocean City down to Assateague, Virginia Beach, and also on the Outer Banks. That will continue into Friday and both Saturday with, breaking waves of 4 to 6 feet, likely both days. In terms of the weather pattern the next couple days, generally, for the past week or so, we've had this rather strong high pressure north of the area with a weak low pressure system or, frontal boundary south of the area, which is pushing northeast winds towards the area. So, that, keeps the chances of rain, especially for southern Virginia and North Carolina today. So some lingering showers. Same thing for tomorrow as this low kind of tries to close off and into kind of a defined low pressure system. But other than just a little bit, some increased moisture over Southern Virginia, North Carolina, don't really expect much in the way of impacts from this low. You'll notice by Saturday that the low kicks off to our northeast. Then we have high pressure over the northeast, mid-Atlantic, New England that builds down towards the area, which should favor dry conditions for most of the area Saturday. And then, especially for Sunday. And then that's when the temperatures start warming back up, at least, noticeably back into the mid 80s. And then now by Monday, we have that high that begins to, shift offshore to our east and southeast, which allows those warmer temperatures to really get back into the area, along with some increased humidity. The 3-day excessive rainfall outlook here, not expecting any excessive rainfall tomorrow and Saturday. For today, there's a very low end risk of some slow moving showers, which could cause an inch or two of rain in some very localized spots. That would mainly be for Southern Virginia and North Carolina. Again, the threat is not as high as it was yesterday. A couple areas in this area, around South Hill towards Emporia got quite a bit of rainfall yesterday. So they're at least a bit more sensitive up there, but otherwise, again, not expecting much in the way of flooding next couple days. And again, the vast majority of the rainfall is confined to the southern half of our area, south of Richmond, generally up to a quarter of an inch for these areas, with a up to a half inch down along coastal portions of northeast North Carolina. And again, the majority of the rain is falling, even though it's not really much, through Saturday, and then for the first part of next week, Sunday into Wednesday, mainly dry for a good portion of our area. I mentioned that there's really not any severe storm potential next couple days, but can't rule out a lightning strike or two across the south today, Friday, and Saturday. But again, no severe weather expected. This shows nicely the trend in our temperatures, our warming trend. Highs today mainly in the mid 70s to around 80. And then, around 80, lower 80s Friday, low to mid 80s Saturday. And we really kind of crank it up Sunday into especially the middle portion of next week, where most of us should be back into the 90s. Low temperatures on the comfortable side, especially inland, dropping again into the 60s tonight into this weekend. And then for the first part of next week, or rather the middle part of next week, is when everyone's back into the 70s overnight. And then this shows just the chance of rain generally dropping off from today and tomorrow and then into the weekend. So in terms of our tropical weather outlook, that low pressure system I mentioned that's south of the area will move northeast, and it could develop, could have a small window where it could develop into something tropical or subtropical. But these chances have actually been lowered compared to the previous days. So it was at a 40% in the orange category, but now it's down to 30% in the yellow category. So either way, not expecting any direct impacts from this system. We do have another tropical wave area of interest over the central Atlantic, and that could, looks to have a little better chance of developing into a system as it moves west to northwest the next couple of days. I will say the early indications are for this system to remain offshore of the eastern part of the United States, but regardless, since it's still quite a bit away, we will keep an eye on that. And we also have whatever's left of Dexter, Tropical Storm Dexter, well to the east of the United States. In terms of our extended tropical outlook, so this is even looking beyond this time here, from the 1 to 2 week time range. And as we get into mid to later August, we're approaching the peak of the hurricane season. So kind of on cue, seeing potential for increased activity in this area down here, particularly east of the Lesser Antilles, where there's a low to moderate chance we get tropical storm or hurricane formation in this area, and at least lingering chances, into the end of August, which is again is to be expected as we approach this portion of hurricane season. Looking ahead in terms of temperatures for next week and beyond, we do trend above normal, as I alluded to, and that should continue through the end of the week. And then also rainfall will be near to above normal. At least that's what's favored from the Climate Prediction Center. With those onshore flow conditions, also expecting nuisance to locally minor tidal flooding with the high tide cycle tonight, especially tonight and tomorrow night. Could be some lingering nuisance flooding for the cycle Saturday night, but along the shore of the Chesapeake Bay, with locally minor conditions up the York, and also up on the southern shore of the Potomac near Louisetta, and also the bay side of the Maryland Eastern Shore. Marine-wise, we have elevated a significant marine threat for the area with small craft advisories in effect for all waters. Again, that's mainly with those breezy northeast winds and elevated waves and seas. We do have some marine threat lingering into tomorrow and also Saturday. By Saturday, the wind should be on the downtrend, but still quite choppy out there. And then definitely more benign marine conditions by Sunday into the early part of next week. Max wind gusts through tomorrow of 25 to 30 knots for most of the waters. And then we do begin to trend lower Saturday and especially into Sunday. But the wind direction still looks to remain out of the northeast through the weekend. In terms of the wave and sea forecast, for the bay, generally 2 to 4 feet with some 5-foot potential at the mouth of the bay. This would be today and tomorrow. And then for the coastal waters, expecting 5 to 7 feet, for most of our marine zones, but there's some potential for 8, 9, locally 10 feet offshore of, well offshore of Virginia Beach, and then the North Carolina coastal waters down there. These will be a little slower to come down, and they may, the higher seas persist through Saturday, so the chance the small craft advisories out here on the ocean will be needed through Saturday or perhaps Sunday. But yeah, that's all I have. Again, sorry for the technical difficulties earlier. We will have this recording posted to YouTube. So, all right, thank you.